right. So we got a little Joe Rogan before we get out of here?
Yes. Which would you like? Would you like to start with the RFK?
Well, yeah, let's start with Tyler Fischer. So we talked, were you on when we talked about Harlan Williams, or was that Casey Day?
I was there for that.
You were there for that.
Yep.
So I was trying to decipher. I was like, is Joe playing the straight man? And of course, immediately, a week later, I was proven wrong. Joe is not having fun with any of this. I don't get why Joe is so serious all the time. Like, he's a comedian, and he has comedians on. When you have comedians on, let your hair down, Joe. Have some fun.
Have a little bit.
This was one that was going around, and Tyler Fischer, he does impressions. Like, I think I heard. So now he's like completely a right wing guy. He was in that movie that the Daily Wire did, right?
I have not seen it.
Well, he was in it, regardless of whether or not Craig's seen it. That doesn't change his acting credit.
Oh, I think you were asking me like he was in that, right? I was like, I don't know.
And no, despite the fact that Craig hasn't seen it, he was still in the movie. They didn't scrap the project based on Craig's viewing habits. And but the first time I heard of him is he did a spot-on Bill Burr impression. He did not Inside the Actors Studio, but Masterclass, a comedy masterclass with Bill Burr.
Oh, I think I saw that.
It was perfect Burr. I think it's the same guy, Tyler Fischer. So he does very good impressions. I also saw he did Jordan Peterson, and Joe laughed at that one. He did a few voices that were pretty good. And then he decides to do RFK, which for some reason Joe decides is over the line. Listen to this clip, how humorless Joe is here for some reason.
Robert Kennedy explained this to me. This is his words, not mine. But if he's right, it's the craziest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. And I think he's right. In the placebo group, two people died.
I'm going to do his voice while you talk, if you don't mind.
Don't do that. In the placebo group, two.
By the way, that's a great RFK Jr.
It was.
That's very good. And it's not over the top mocking. It actually kind of sounds like him. If you're going to do an impression of the guy, how else would you do it other than that? And Joe is like, get out of here. And what's kind of annoying is that Joe is intimidating his guest. That guy feels subservient to Joe because he's a comic that is getting a big opportunity on the Joe Rogan Experience. And he has to immediately go, I'm so sorry, Joe. I'm terribly, terribly sorry.
I'm sorry for doing comedy on the show.
Yeah, it's very weird. Joe's like, don't do that. Now, a much more common theme is this is now the 12th Protect Our Parks they've done. Not on YouTube for some reason. I think there was just too much editing they would have had to do or something. I'm not really sure. But on Spotify now is Protect Our Parks number 12, which if I can throw my 2 cents in here, I think they are doing those too often. It doesn't feel as special as it used to.
Yeah, I think it almost feels like a podcast at this point.
It's just oh, okay, they're doing this again. For a while, it was oh, shit, they're all getting together. That's fun. And now it's just oh, yeah, again already? They're doing it again? But whatever, they have a good time. I listened to a lot of this one, and it was entertaining. But Joe does this thing where if you're talking about podcast and radio history, I think Jim Norton is probably the best ever just at throwing in quips and one-liners.
Right.
One of the fastest guys ever in radio history. Artie Lang is up there. And then in podcasting, Zach Amico is in that category. I think Zach is great at doing that, just throwing in rapid-fire one-liners.
This is
and
not
Mark Norman is also very good.
Yeah, I was going to say this is not an endorsement, but Kumi is probably the fastest.
Well, Kumi is great, but I was thinking of more guys off on the side that are
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Guys that aren't hosting the show but can lay back and just throw in one-liners.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kumi is great at it too. Rich Voss is very good.
Yep.
But Mark Norman is in that category. I think he's great on podcasts at throwing in those little one-liners. And every time he does it, Joe has to trample all over it. It's very weird. I don't know why he's doing it. And it changes my opinion. When I was talking about Harlan Williams, I was he must be in on this joke a little bit. And yet I'm hearing Mark chew on the celery. And Joe is not going with it at all.
This is Fitzsimmons, that one.
Okay, so this is the first one where, if you hear, maybe I'm being too judgmental. Maybe I'm being too critical of Joe here, but let's see what you guys think.
Only be female, and they're supposed to fuck the up-and-comers.
Wow.
When you think about like how many comics you started out with that are actually doing it today, like from open mic, I think I know 3.
You remember the ones that are still in more
Really?
than
Yeah.
the ones that quit.
Oh, they Bird, Fitzsimmons.
I didn't know Burr until later. Burr started like a year or 2 after me, and I knew Fitzsimmons and I started the same time. We started like a week apart from each other.
Damn,
The same club.
and he quit.
Ah,
No, he's great.
See, okay, so that's not the worst one. But the laugh he gives him is like, you hack, kind of a thing.
Yeah, that was like a warm up.
Like, I'll give you that one, kiddo. He pats him on the head. When in reality, like, that's kind of funny. Like, Fitzsimmons obviously is nowhere near as famous as Rogan or Burr. So it's funny to be like, and he quit the business.
Right.
But that's yeah, like you said, that's just a warm up. So let's get into it. Maybe Joe loosens up as the show goes on.
explained to this girl, she was like 100 pounds with tiny hands. I'm like, you should never try to hit a guy.
Yeah,
Never
good
try.
deal.
You should learn how to not get hit and how to move, but you're not going to hurt someone. Like, you can't. You're too small. There's just nothing you can do about
Wake
it.
up call. Just trying to
Because
think of,
they get in this head that they're going to be karate experts and they're going to be beating up people. And I'm like, you don't have enough mass. Like, you have to have a certain amount of mass to be able to generate force to hurt someone.
Leah Thomas is pretty beefy.
think of trying to be like
See, he gives him like the "you're a hack" laugh.
Yeah, that was like, yes, exactly.
If you're gonna have Mark Normand on, you have to let him be Mark Normand.
Right.
Like, I remember, I think in one of the early Protect Our Parks, where Shane was saying like Norman never turns that off. Like, the waitress said, they went to dinner and the waitress said, "Pardon my reach," and Norman goes, "Jack Reacher."
Yeah.
It's just like, that's the kind of autistic man that you're dealing with.
Right.
So you have to let him be Mark Normand. Every time he has a joke like that, which that's not a bad, it's a Leah Thomas joke. That's kind of funny. You can't go waka waka waka. Because it completely detracts from like what Mark is doing. Like, he's just being Mark Normand. He's peppering in these jokes. Some people will notice him. But it's almost like Joe is saying, like, I have zero respect for your brand of humor.
Right.
Which is fine to say, but it's odd because he's having him on so often.
Right.
So it's just weird.
It could also just be like, he's like, I'm gonna get him to not do this.
Yeah, that's the other thing is like, because I think that type of laugh that he gives him, it's associated with a hack. So it's almost like he's saying, "Hey, Mark, on my show, don't do that."
Yeah,
which is a
being
little weird.
super disrespectful.
Yeah.
Here's the next one.
Those are fun. It's a fun
Those are
time.
fun,
It's
yeah.
just like when you have like an 18-year-old girl who's going on an audition and she's sitting on a leather couch and this guy's talking to her.
Yeah.
Those I'm like, geez.
she
Yeah.
swallows hard.
Christ.
She's like, I can do this.
You got to
Yeah.
get to the mothership somehow.
When you hear the
That's a great joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a legitimately very fun. They're talking about a casting couch, and he goes, "You got to get into the mothership somehow." And Rogan goes, "Waka waka, you're a hack."
I don't get that. I don't get that at all.
He just steps all over Norman, and I think it completely, like, credit to Norman for continuing to do it. But I feel like that would just deflate a comedian to every time you make a joke here. "Bark, bark, 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 bark.
Yeah,
You're a cornball."
because I don't know if you know this, but now when Shane and Mark are on a show, they'll both wear sunglasses and they'll both lift their glasses instead of making noises like that. So after like a hack joke or something, they'll just lift their glasses at each other.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, I've heard Norman on other podcasts kind of reference that Rogan's big on giving you the like walk, and I feel like it just deters. Like, Rogan's, has set himself up as like this pro comedy guy. He's done a lot for comedy with the mothership and all that, and yet he has a guy like Harlan Williams on and just tramples all over the bit he was doing.
Yeah.
And those are now Mark Normand jokes. Like, now it's gotten to the point where if you have a pun on a podcast, people are like, "What are you, Mark Normand?
Yeah, they'll say comedy
Comedy."
like, right after you say it.
So, like, that's a Mark Normand thing, and you're just shitting all over the guy, which is, it's very odd. Also, like, he just keeps disrespecting Norman. The first time they promoted Bodega Cat,
Mm-hmm.
Mark Normand and Sam Morrill's whiskey,
Yep.
Norman poured everyone a shot, and Rogan took it and goes, "Ah, that sucks."
Yeah, this is gross.
and I think Shane and Ari both go, "Well, it's Mark's whiskey, so
Pretty
we
good.
love it."
Yeah, Rogan's used to like whatever's above top shelf at this point too. Like,
Well, sure, yeah. But it's also just crazy your friend's promoting a whiskey to be like, nah, I've had better.
I keep trying to tell myself about that he didn't know at the time of that sip it was Mark's.
That's like a brain disorder. If he knew it was Mark's and still said that.
Yeah, like I'm just like he just didn't know. He was trying to get back to Buffalo Trace or whatever the fuck he's always drinking.
Yeah, right.
Next one here.
Yeah.
Didn't Lincoln give like when they were doing debates? He did like 6-hour debates.
Lincoln
publicly?
Douglas debates.
It's like
Yeah.
Chappelle.
They're really trying to it out.
Every time Norman speaks, it's crazy. He's
that was
only like
another-
40 minutes in.
That was another good joke.
It's and Rogan and maybe I'm analyzing it too much. This is a problem I'll admit I get into. Like maybe I'm overanalyzing it, where that's just Rogan's laugh, but it feels like it's the "you're a hack" symbol.
Oh, for sure.
Shh.
For sure. Hold on.
We have one more though, right?
Yep. I'm trying to get to it right now because I have to scrub. Hold on one second.
This is my favorite one because it's more than a laugh. This is Rogan genuinely just insulting Mark Normand.
The immigrant population gets too dense.
That's
Let's
a
bring in
little
some
bit
other
before.
Pretty much a
immigrants.
Coliseum, right?
Bring
They
in
would
some
take
Lobos.
kind of the bums. Yeah,
That's
it's like,
right.
fight him against a lion.
Well,
See what
listen,
happens.
they do it.
It's
baby
always the same
steps.
result.
It's like,
That's it.
They
Yeah,
brought
that's-
in coyotes a long time ago. Coyotes are in New York City.
But they're a problem too.
Yeah,
They'll
they're a
eat your
real
cat.
problem. They'll eat your cat. They'll eat your kid. There's a guy in Woodland Hills. There's a video of him, his kid getting stolen by a coyote.
This is a
That's
fat
good to
kid.
know. Yeah, good way to get rid of
A
them.
little baby, like a toddler.
He
Like
didn't go eat his baby.
Yeah, well, there's no abortion
He
here.
grabbed it and started running with it, and he chased after the coyote. The coyote drops the kid. Like fuck.
Oh, he saved it.
Yeah, he saved his kid.
Ah, bummer.
But jeez, Norman.
Wow.
Mark,
Very expensive.
That type of thing's not funny.
Shocking.
Ah,
Seven.
Hold on, go back. Could you go back just a little bit?
After the coyote,
Where like
drops-
Shane clearly joking
Right.
goes, Mark, that type of thing's not funny here. It's a very funny character he's playing.
Yeah.
Maybe Rogan's doing the same thing, but my ears just aren't picking it up that way. Where
Well,
he's genuinely shitting on Normand here.
Well, here's where your eyes would benefit you and tell you
Yeah.
that your ears are correct.
Okay, good.
oh, he saved it.
yeah, he saved his kid.
Ah, bummer.
But jeez, Norman.
Wow. Yeah,
Mark,
they're very expensive.
That type of thing's not funny.
He's just trying too hard to be shocking.
Ah,
Seven.
if they-
The video of the
if
alligator.
wolves-
That's
And
just
Norman's like, what the fuck, man?
Jesus, dude.
He's trying to. We're drinking on a funny podcast with fucking Shane, a guy that got canceled from SNL, and the amazing racist. And you say I'm trying too hard to be shocking. Fuck you, ivermectin, you dickhead. I'm trying too hard. But yeah, it's frustrating as like a comedy fan to watch Joe just shit all over comedy time and again, whether it's Harlan Williams or Mark Normand. We'll pay attention the next time you see Rogan doing this. Let us know because we'll be on it. Like, I love Rogan. I think he's done a lot for comics, and it is like that's still the landing spot for comedians. Like, getting Rogan is bigger than pretty much any other credit like an unknown comic could get. So he's doing a lot for comedians, but he is kind of like dog whistling that they're a hack throughout the episodes.
Right.
It's weird. And yet, like, you know, Joey Diaz can tell some story about shitting his pants and Joe will be in hysterics.
Or robbing someone with a gun pointed at their face. He's
So
like,
I kidnapped this motherfucker.
yeah, you did
Oh,
that.
you rascal.
You wacky. You're so wacky.
Oh, you son of a bitch. But yeah, I don't know. So, you know, of course, still love Saint Rogies, as they call him. But Jesus, Joe.
We got one last super chat here.
Okay.
It's Dang Lizard explaining the kid show thing. $5.
Of course it is.
Craig wants to take Blind Mike Project down. When you were gone, Mike, he played an intro. Craig's Kid Show.
Oh,
Today's
one of his
topic-
favorite porns, I'm sure.
Craig's Kid Show. Today's topic: how to play Uncle Craig's flesh flute. I don't think I did,
Oh, that's fun.
unless I blacked out.
Yeah, Craig always says, get the milk out of the flute. And I was like, that's not how instruments work.
That's how you clean them.
All